Hello, hello. Welcome to the stream. Uh, this morning, I will be working on applying the hair curves to the Bull Centaur character, which I have on the screen right now. The other day, I got the um, basic skin texture set up for the character, and also made the eyes a bit more realistic. I'll probably still um modify them a bit, but they look okay. So it's at least a good start on those. Hey, good morning. How are you? And if you hop in, let me know you were here in the live chat. It's always good to know who came by. So, yeah. But yeah, here's the basic material for the character. It's got a little bit of a hoof material. We're gonna cover up a lot of the skin and stuff with hair. Um, so it's not gonna matter too much to see all that, but um, the horns just have a little bit of an ivory texture on them. Ripa says, "I'm good, man. Appreciate the early stream for us all." Yeah, yeah. It's not too big of a deal for me. Um, it's just nine a.m. here, so it's not it's not like I can't do this. It's just usually the family's up and everybody's out and about. So, um, but yeah, no, I definitely intend to stream all of the different time zones in a more convenient way for everybody. But um, no, I'm glad I could sneak one in this morning. I've got about till so maybe 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half. So we'll see how far we can get because I am not super familiar with the hair curve system anymore. Uh, what I'm used to is adding the hair particles and going from there. Uh, I'll probably just go right to the curve system because I need to learn it anyway. But um, yeah, and let's collapse this for now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the viewport shading mode. But yeah, look at this. Look at the skin texture. I think that actually ended up pretty good. So for whoever hadn't seen it yet, this is what the skin looks like, and this is in the preview shading. So this is basically what Eevee looks like, which I'm super happy with. Eevee, I don't believe does hair particles really good, but Ripa says it's looking really good. By the way, I'm gonna be here all stream, running simulations myself. So um, you'll be here in the background. I need to remember to download Blender today and get those stats in. Yeah. Um, yeah. And then you can get all those test files that I use are just on Blender's website. So if you go to the download tab, you can find um, they're like, I think that's a separate page in there, but you can go find them all. Um, yeah, and then as far as simulations, I'm gonna set up a couple standards for probably fluids and maybe smoke simulations, and then I'll share those because I've never actually seen anybody testing a standard simulation scene in Blender. They may or may not have them, I don't know, but I've never seen it. So we'll set one up and we'll start to share the data because I think that's going to help people know what processor to pick too, because we talk a lot about GPUs and rendering, but um, the other part of the workflow is getting something to render. So um, yeah, so we'll want to test CPUs, and I think baking simulations is probably the most intense thing you can do on one in Blender. But yeah, so for anybody who hasn't seen this guy yet at all, here's what he looks like. He has very, very little detail. Um, here's the mesh, and if you're relatively new to 3D, you'll say, well, how does it look like it does? Um, I have a normal map on it, so basically I used this super high detail version, which looks like this. So it's got tons and tons and tons of detail. I use that for sculpting, and then basically created a map of that for Blender to use, and then applied it to this low poly one. And with the skin texture on it, this is what it looks like. So that's what we're dealing with. What's really cool is if I want to modify some of this a little bit, I can play with the displacement, so I can make the skin detail a little bit stronger or weaker. So depending on what I'm doing with it. But I can also modify the strength of the normals, which is the displacement on the body, like kind of the bigger displacement. But you can see it's also affecting the skin texture. Yeah, so I can make it just pop a little more if I want to, just by sliding this. So this is what it looks like without that normal map applied. It looks blocky. And this is what it looks like with the map applied. I think I'm going to leave it at about 1.2 is what I've found works the best for this exact one. So yeah, but let's just get started. So normally what I would do is I would weight paint areas on the body and apply hair just to certain areas. What I'm going to do for this guy is we're going to apply the hair curve system to the entire body and then remove it where we need it removed. Ripa says, yeah, that sounds awesome. Right now, my heart's in simulation. I'm currently trying to nail the foam and dynamics of whitewater rapids. Skin texture on the Centaur is awesome. Awesome. Yeah, thanks. I'm glad it looks good. I think before I remade this, I wasn't feeling too good about the texture, so I tried one more time, and it's looking a lot better. But the hair is going to help kind of make this thing look even cooler. But yeah, really, I could make a different version of him too that just doesn't even need the hair system. But I think this one's going to be better set up for the hair. So, but yeah, simulations are awesome. I like Flip Fluids add-on for Blender a lot, but I think it's like $73 one time. So I don't, I'm not going to have a test scene that uses that until I have free test scenes, just because I don't want people to have to go buy the add-on to be able to compare. So, but yeah, Flip Fluids does whitewater, and it does use your CPU a little better than the native simulator in Blender. I think it just makes more use of the threads of your entire processor. So, yeah. Anyway, all right. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go in object mode. I'm going to select the body, and I'm going to add curve and then fur. And what I've noticed is this gives us a lot of geometry nodes to work with to start off. And let's just change a couple things in the settings down here. So Blender's calling it quick fur. Let's just start off with like the right length and stuff because we may as well. So this guy's not going to be very long hair. He's going to have relatively short hair. So I'm going to set this down a bit. Otherwise, we'll have to go through and change it later, and we might as well just get it close to start off. So even that is just a little bit long. Let's go down to 10% of that. Oh, I think that's probably okay. View percentage, let's just change it to like a fifth. We'll go to 0.2. And then we'll have it interpolate for rendering, but for working in the viewport, it's going to be kind of a pain to deal with all of the hairs. So, okay, so there's what they look like. I would even say they might be a little bit long still, but um, we can change that later anyway. And then, so they're just white. We'll have to add a material, which I think this gives you one to start with. But we're going to actually use a hair shader. So if I zoom in on them here, you can see the hair shader will make kind of the reflections more realistic. So that's going to look really, really cool when we have our renders. But let's see. Let's just change this to the melanin concentration setting. And you can control the hair by basically changing the um, physical properties of it, which we'll either do that or we'll direct color it from his body, and then I'll add colored paint to where I want the different like color zones to be. But for now, so we can see them, let's just leave them kind of a light color. And then, yeah, so this ugly sort of yellow color is what we'll start with, and then we'll use it just to know what it looks like. All right. So what you can do now is um, you can select the hair curve system as an object, basically, and then all of your nodes and modifiers are attached to that. In the old days of the hair particle system, you would select the body, and then in particles menu there would be settings for each set of particles. I actually didn't mind that too much. It didn't work great when you started to try to create hair dynamics, which I'm sure this doesn't work yet either because I don't think it's supposed. It's not supposedly set up yet all the way to be able to simulate the hair. So I know it says simulation nodes here, but I'm not sure that they have anything. I think you can have like some wind that blows the hair around a little, but you can't actually have animated long hair working very well. Um, but yeah, so let's just get going. So again, if we view all of the hairs, this is what it looks like. Obviously, a lot of it's clipping into him right now. And I would still say that this hair might be too long, so we'll actually reduce it a little bit. Um, and like I said, I am also still learning the the curve system because it's all geometry node based. So I'm not as familiar with it, but I've used it a couple times, but I think it was Blender 3.3, and I don't even think it's the same now. Ripa says, well, I remember Blender and distributed rendering. Couple of questions. One, will Blender use other computers' GPU power on your network for the active viewport? No, it will not. Um, unless somebody has an add-on to do that, I don't think there is an add-on for that yet. But no, you cannot use a distributed network to run your workstation. And then question 2 is distributed rendering. VUIKT. Built. Is distributed rendered built into Blender? Is it an engine by engine basis? It is not built into Blender. It used to be a long time ago. They removed it because I think it was buggy and they didn't want to spend time. So um, there's an add-on called Crowd Render you can get that attempts to distributed render for you. The user interface is decent, but I always have issues with it. So crowd render is what that's called. I would, yeah, built. I saw that. I figured that out. Sorry about that. Um, but crowd render would be fine once they get it figured out. I just don't think they've quite got it working properly, at least not on the way my network is set up. Otherwise, like, still, I just sign in to each one with remote desktop and start them, which is a little tedious, but it's still way better than rendering on my workstation. So at the end of the day, it's still hundreds of times faster than waiting on my computer. Thanks, dude. Yeah, you're welcome. No problem. But let's go to geometry nodes and start to look around. I think I'm going to collapse this, make our viewport area bigger. Okay, so with the hair system, which I should probably start calling it the curve system. It's not really a hair system, but with the curves selected, you can go into the geometry nodes tab, and just like a material, you can pull down all of this information. So each one of these different tabs has certain controls that work on the curves. Let's see. And then I just had this happen a little bit ago too. The for whatever reason the hair system can disappear sometimes. I'm not actually sure why it does that. It's possible it's a bug, or I just don't know what I'm doing. Let's see. Um, Alt H. That doesn't even work. All right. Yeah, so it seems like sometimes when you start to mess with the uh, geometry nodes, you can lose the viewport. Let's just swap through some views here and see. Yeah, see, now they're not showing up. I think they're still on here somewhere. Node group's first output must be geometry. Yeah, see, they're just not even attached to this. So let's see if I undo, maybe they'll pop back up. I'm not sure why this happens. So I guess if somebody knows, but you should be able to modify the geometry nodes without them disappearing. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. But yeah, I mean, here's what you run into in geometry nodes. Everybody likes to talk about how exciting and useful they are, which they are, to be fair. But um, look at all the stuff you have to learn, and just as soon as you thought you were used to shader nodes, now you have this to deal with too, which is fine. But um, it's just another thing to have to figure out. So, but once, so if we were going to use these settings, and we decided that okay, this looks good, let's go with it. We can enter sculpt mode, and then I'm going to actually try to get these to mirror. We'll see if they work. And then just like hair particles in the old particle system method, you can brush and move these around. And they should just work like you would expect, where you can just kind of comb them. Let's see, what is the difference here? Oh, select mode. Okay. All right. And I'm actually tempted to just apply some of these uh, hair systems on my own. So let's go back to layout. I don't really need the geometry node tab open for this part. But yeah, you should be able to sculpt these just fine. And so what you're seeing on this circle tool here, to modify the hair curves, you can use projected method, which is like what I'm used to. That's the old way. Or you can use the sphere. So projected is you have a flat tool, and it's based on your view in the viewport. Um, and then sphere is like this diameter of sphere is what the tool will actually occupy. So it's useful for like moving hair through thin objects. So on the old hair curves, with the projected method, you would only be able to modify hair on this side of it, and then you'd have to rotate around the arm just to move all the hair. Now the sphere will go all the way through it and select all of them the same. So it's kind of nice. But I'm actually going to get rid of this fur system for now, and I'm just going to start adding individual curves uh, sets, because we're gonna need multiple. So I'm going to add an empty hair. You can see it added this curve here, and now I can go in here and start sculpting them basically. So what you would want to do is kind of get a couple of your settings set up. So I'm gonna have this add. Let's just do 3 at a time like that. And then what you can do later is you can basically select this density, and then you can duplicate it. But by doing it this way, I'm gonna just add separate hair curve systems, kind of like I would have with hair particles. So this one we'll just call it body hairs, and this will just go on like most of him. The other reason to do this is I don't have to um, I don't have to deal with having the hair applied to like the horns and the eye sockets and stuff. In this method, I'm just going to paint it where I want it. If you apply the quick fur without using any other controls, you're just going to have um, hair everywhere. So, and if you're only adding a certain spots, it's going to be a lot easier to work with this way. So let's just set up a couple things. Curve info. Okay, so we'll have to go build a couple nodes. But I wanted to get this X mirror on, and then I'll see how long they are. These are way too long, so I'm gonna shorten them up. Um, Maybe these uh these tools look a little different. Add, okay, and then paint selection. You can you can paint which curves you want to apply these changes to, and then it'll only change the ones that you have selected, which is kind of cool. So you could add like random frizz in between, and basically just not use all of them. Okay. So we can just start to sculpt these, and I'll just add a bunch of them randomly, basically, and then we'll control the length of the hairs and stuff here with the nodes. Um, but it's not like the old hair system where some changes were not really permanent, but they would apply, and then that was it. So with the geometry node setup, you can tune everything quite a bit more, and the shape of the curves and stuff like that you can tune. So we'll deal with like the length and the type of hair and stuff like that here in just a minute. But for now, we'll just add paint all over the place, and we'll fix the density of the hair and all the other settings for it in a while, because these are definitely going to be too long. We're not going to do a like shaggy style for this guy. It's going to be pretty short hair, at least not on this version. Okay. I know a lot of people probably would like to see the shaggy one too, because they're kind of cool. All right. And then, so the cool thing here with adding different groups of hair is that I can add more controlled hair on the face later, and that way I don't have to use the same settings and hope they work everywhere. So I'm just gonna add the little smaller areas here in a bit. Okay, so this gives us something to work with, and let's save it. Let's see if we can go to the geometry nodes. All right. Curve info. Okay, so there's the skin. For some reason in here, our curves like to disappear. Let's select. Oh, there we go. That's why. Okay. So, um, I have geometry nodes set up, but I don't have any of these um settings set up yet. So if I turn the viewport view on, since there's no settings in here, um, the hair goes away basically. Direct link. Okay, yeah, so that's what we need. So we need to start setting up our nodes. Okay. Curves. Make sure it's on the right body. It's got the UV map in there. Okay. Now, one thing that I have seen before is um, there's a there's a demo file for um, the most recent Blender movie. So let me pull up the Blender website. And this is one of the downloadables that you can get. Um, but if you go to download and then right under download, there's demo files, and then you can scroll through here. They have a lot of useful stuff. But like in here, they have hairstyles and animal fur examples that you can use. The other one that I've used before just to help me set nodes up is um, the Charge Open Movie. They have a file that's focused just on the character's face. Um, but for now, let's grab this. I'm gonna download the hair nodes example, and then we'll just pull that up, and we can look through that. So geometry nodes are nice, but you have to make sure that they all happen or that they're all applied. Otherwise, you're not going to have the information that you need. So this is that fur demo file. Maybe. And I would say that hair is definitely still hard to run, but the geometry node setup and some other optimized work they've done in Blender has made it a lot easier to work with. Not sure why my file here would be having problems. Just reopen it. I really just need to grab the nodes. Okay, but here's what it looks like, and they have different ones that are set up in here. So, like, I think the one that we'll actually use is probably the zebra one because you have this really short hair that's laid down along the body. That's kind of what we want. So let's try to show this. You know what? It's possible since I have multiple of these presets selected that it's just tanking my RAM. Yeah, you can kind of see it's trying to fill the RAM up maybe. 15 gigs, 15.4. Oh, maybe it's not too bad. Yeah, this file keeps crashing though for some reason. Alrighty, one more try. I'm not gonna look at the shaders. Um, Edgar the Face is here. Edgar the Face has provided some benchmark info. So if you see my hardware stuff, um, I've got data in there from Edgar, but Edgar the Face says, "Hey, 4 p.m. local time. That's new." Yep, yep. Trying to trying to hit a different audience. So I'm glad you're here. Zebra fur. Okay. Um, let's look at all these and just see. Okay, I don't think we want the sheep. Beaver. Why did they pick beaver? Huh. Well, that actually looks pretty decent too, but I think we're gonna go with the see here's the Highland cattle one, which is the long-haired cows that you've seen. I'm gonna go with the zebra setup. So this in here um, is a good start. So I think, yeah, it's got just the basic shapes, and then they have a lot fewer modifiers in here. But let's um, let's maybe just I don't know if we can just copy this in to our Blender file or not. Should probably append it. Because what do these show up as? It's just a surface. Okay. Okay. Yeah, let's do that. So let's turn these other ones off just to be safe. And then we don't need the lighting or the camera, so let's just grab the zebra collection in here, and let's just see if this works. It probably won't. We'll just copy the whole thing, and we'll go back in here to the um, modifiers, and I'm gonna select the retopoed body, and I'm just going to try to paste this. And I imagine that there is no way this is going to work, but we will try, and then we'll do it the way that we need to. Okay. Looks like we actually got the nodes in here, so that should be easy enough. So let's get rid of our original body hairs, and then this, all we have to do is switch the surface to be the retopoed body, I believe. And then this maybe goes up here. Retopo body. Maybe. No, we don't want another one of those. Let's just get everything applied though. Okay, so that is this guy. All right, now this one we want to have the fur on. I'm not entirely sure why it's adding a second version of his body as a hair particle. Interpolate hair. Oh, that's probably just a modifier we don't want to add at this exact time. Okay. So now we just need to make sure that um, these are applied to the right file here. We'll move it up here. Okay. Frizz. Okay. We should be able to get this to follow our character. So this only has the one mod. That's so interesting. Because the quick fur in Blender um, definitely adds way more settings than this one does. Oh, here we go. Okay. Yeah, so it is actually adding it down here. So what we probably need to figure out is how to just apply that to everything. So what I can probably do is leave these settings in and then just add a quick fur and copy these settings over. So let's go back to the layout tab because that's easier for me to see what's going on. We'll add an empty hair. Try to just copy this right in and see what happens. Basically, all I'm trying to do is, oop, we don't want to copy all that. I'm just trying to get um, these geometry node settings to apply to a brand new hair curve system. Because we've got this hair down here, and it's attempting to follow the character's body, but it's still just tied to that plane. So we just want to take the settings off of it is all. But this is copy geometry node group. There we go. Bake, we don't need to bake anything yet. For Zebra 01. This original one we can probably just hide. Okay, so I think this hair is trying to stick to the body. Yeah, we just need the other settings to come in. Yeah, it just automatically stretches to try to reach it. Cool. I think that stuff's all set up. Oops. We can keep that. Now this surface here is the original zebra one. I don't think that we need it now because we have this node group. So I'm going to try to just get rid of it. Modifiers. And I think okay. Your topo body. Now I should be able to just um, paint hairs, I hope, and the curve settings for this should function. We may have to play with the settings a little more, but I should be able to just select this and then add hair. So let's try to just add. Okay. Yeah. So see, it's got this kind of clump and everything. I want to use that same shape, and then I want to tell the hairs to follow the body. So basically, what I wanted to do is I wanted to shrink wrap to the body so that they're not um, sticking out, and then I don't have to brush them as much. So like I think up here they're the ends of the hair are targeting his face. So I also just need to make them a bit shorter. But we can do that in here. I think before I had these at like 0.01 maybe. Even that might be a little long. 0.005. And then let's see. Don't really need interpolate. Yeah, see that'll look better. So it'll be nice and short. So I'm gonna get rid of these long ones we made. Apparently these few here it doesn't want me to get rid of. There we go. Okay. And I should be able to just paint wherever. How come these look so long? Oh, I wonder if painting in such a big area is causing a problem. I bet it is. Okay. And then, so the other thing to note here is that um, the surface that it's using is probably not it's not deformed like the normal map. So uh, they're actually going to follow the real body, not the sculpted detail on it. So in some spots, if it's clipping through it, we'll probably just have to, uh, come move the hair a little bit. But that's okay. So we'll just start. We'll just start painting body hairs. And the count here is only at 3. I should probably set that up to like 10 because I don't want to be painting too few with these geometry nodes on here. I don't know how well they'll modify later if I don't paint enough. Yeah, so you see how the hairs are kind of laying down on the body? That is uh, one effect that's really, really hard to do with the old hair system. So pretty excited that's working this well actually. But it's basically shrink wrapping to the body. And then I think there's ways to actually have it like follow the uh, topology flow a little better as well. Summer Main says looks good. Thank you. Yes, I think it is. This is my best sculpting work so far, and the skin texture is actually decent. So I'm pretty happy with them at this point. Obviously, there's always room to improve, but all right. So now I think obviously these don't look right, but once we get the settings applied properly, that it'll be fine. Because we still have to go mess with all the um, actual geometry node information. So let's see. Let's look at the base shape here. Hair curve, noise, shrink wrap hair. Yeah, here's that shrink wrap modifier. So if I take it off, the hairs come off the body more. If I put it back to 1, they suck down onto the body, which is super, super nice. Uh, because that just doing that was such a manual process before that took hours just to you have to lay them flat and then pull them back off of the body because they'd clip through too much. Stray hairs. Okay, so what we really need is probably not noise. Let's see though. Basically, we gotta tune the thickness of these noise texture. See, and I don't think it's I don't think it's the noise that we need. I think it's somewhere in here there should be a range value like this map range that lets you control how thick the start and end of the strands are basically. I may just have to add another node for it. Stray hairs, frizz variation. See, I don't think that's what we want though. So let's try to just add a property here. Um, curve root and curve tip. Probably what we need. Geometry nodes. deform, okay. We need that one. I don't think we do because that's already in here. All right, and then let's add a, I think there's one for curve radius. Maybe it is just the root and the tip ones. Group's output must be the geometry. Okay. Yeah, so these are just like um, they're just like modifiers. I think we already have what we need in here somewhere. I'm just not as used to it. Um, but we should be able to also add like density and everything else like that. Curve nodes. Group output. Here attachment info. Zebra 01. Huh. I know on the other file, it's it's got all of the parameters included. So it's definitely not needing like a whole lot of other ones, I don't think. Frizz, so this is controlling the shape of the curves, like the actual curviness of them. Length factor. Trim random. Shrink wrap hair. We've kind of looked into that already. Hair curve noise. All right. And we may just have to add nodes. So let's see if we can do that. Curve. Okay, curve radius. And then let's just see where it makes sense to plug that into. I would think into the base shape here. Yeah. Point 0.0001. So I think these need to be tiny. Yep. And then what you can do is you can add a, oh, what do they call them in this? I don't know if they call them math or maybe range, map range. Let's let's try that because they have a few of those in here. So it looks like you have to go from a gray value to a map range. So I can go into the curve operation. But basically what I want to do is I want to have the hairs go from a little bit thicker to a little bit thinner. The position of each oh yeah, okay. Texture. I'm just reading through these right now. Um, by the way, anyone watching, I'm learning too. It's not like this one I don't know as much about how to do, so if it seems like I don't know what I'm doing, well that's because I don't. So let's connect this back. See, and I don't think we want I don't think we want um, hairs that are uniform shape like that. So we definitely want that variation. I I remember the demo file for another one of these um, projects that Blender provides. They had a way to just add a scale from min to max. Let's go see what did they do. So they have texture going to it. Otherwise, you've got to have a curve ID map range. Map range is what we want. Set curve radius. I wonder if you can use that. Yeah, see, I don't want the curve root one. Curve radius. And then range. Maybe that's how they did it before. Because you can't plug this into yeah, you can't plug that into the set curve radius. But I'm wondering if the map range can be plugged in like this, and then you go curve to geometry like that. That's probably going to work. Come on, Blender. Should get out of shading mode. Or out of render preview so I don't blow it up here, apparently. Okay. So, map range, let's just see if this works. So we want to go make one of these pretty large we want to basically figure out what it's changing, but I want to add a curve, and then we want to read line parameter. Just don't remember how they did it in that demo file. I have to go just find that. Map range node. I know map range is what we want, but I think it's probably after this that we want it. You know what? Let's just try something else here. Let's try to just move this to between these two because it should already have the connections it needs. And then we'll just piggyback on that. Okay. And then noise texture. I wonder if we can throw this in. Woo! I think we have very, very large radius hair. Okay. So that's how you can do it. So you need to have curve info into a map range. So currently the hairs are just a set thickness, so I'm just trying to get them to vary. I wonder if I can just cheat and do that. Let's see. I don't want to do that. So I think also another thing to note is that geometry nodes are kind of like shader nodes. They go in a big line, so you don't want to have a bunch of goofy out of order stuff. Like I'm not going to be able to tie this into the very end of the string very well. So maybe I can do this though. Curve radius. We want let's see, why would this be? Yeah. So one of these ought to let us make our hairs thicker. Curve into geometry. map range here. I wonder if I can split that. So that's noise. Shrink wrap hair. Viewer. Some of these nodes I just have no idea what they do yet. Map range. So the map range on this one, it's telling it where to point the noise. Curve info. Okay. And then we need oops. Okay. Curve info. Okay. So then I should be able to use um because here I don't think I can, yeah, I can't just change those on its own. Um, okay. Well, I I'm gonna leave that alone for now because I can't figure it out. I'm gonna have to come figure out what these do, but yeah, some of them are a little weird here too, but I will I'll look into it more, but um anyway, we can change a bunch of these to tune the look of it, but what's cool is once you get once you get the settings to where you want them, it's a lot easier to add extra hairs, and then um, you can also modify them. So, like in this area, they're kind of like misbehaving. So, um, I would be able to come in here and fix that easier. Let's see if we can sculpt it. Yeah, see, and this doesn't even want to let me. Sculpt these much. But let's do something like smooth. Try to get back into a better performance mode here. If you use rendered previews, it's going to be really hard to run. So I'm gonna add a bunch of these, and then we'll probably just interpolate to add a whole bunch of hairs. But um, the way the nodes are set up, it's got this like automatic clumping in it, so it's kind of pulling uh, little random clusters of the particles together, or of the curves. I should probably stop calling them particles because they just aren't anymore. But you can see I'm still adding more. It just kind of reclumps them. But I think that's going to be the kind of texture we want. So then I'll just paint it down to the top of the foot. And then what I normally do is I'll have all of the general hair particles for the whole body will be one. And wherever I have um, stuff I want to vary, I won't I won't do I won't modify the particles on the body hair system. I'll just add some. So ideally, you would end up with 5 or 10 uh, hair systems. And on the old way, I did it the same way. But like around his face, we'll have smaller ones so we can control him easier. And then um, that way we don't have to fight the settings to make them work everywhere. We can just add extra ones. And it shouldn't change the performance at all if you're going to add the same number of hairs total. But it's cool because then you can have a second set of shaders. So, like if I want to change the hair color in certain areas, I'll just add a separate group of curves. And if I want it to look the same, like the hairs to be the same physically, I can just um, I can just leave the settings in there, and then change the color. So that'll be pretty easy because what we're going to do is we're going to have most of him will be like a black or a really dark gray, and then he'll have orange and white highlights on him too. And obviously, I can change the colors to be whatever we want. But say I really like the density of this up here. Um, I believe you can sample it on here somehow. Let's see. View. Density mode determines whether the brush adds or removes curves. So I think on this one it would be either, and it should add them with the same settings. Looks like it's not. But I can also just interpolate the shape too. So if I want to add more, I can just turn on interpolate and then paint more on. But there's a way to um, manually adjust the density by painting. All right. So I'll get a bunch of these set up, and then in the geometry nodes, we'll modify the uh, how many are displayed in the viewport, because that number should be turned down when you're working on it. And then you basically just want to use nodes to duplicate them for rendering, basically. Otherwise, you're going to have way too many to work with in the viewport. It's going to tank your computer. Okay. Let's see what these look like in the shader. Okay, so they'll probably look fine let's add, let's see, I don't think we have, let's add a fur material. Okay, and then I can go to geometry nodes, and I can tell that a lot of them are clipping through his body, I think because of our normal map issue. So I'm going to go um, to the shrink wrap here, and then yeah, so we can put a offset distance to use for shrink wrap. So it was on 0. I'll put a small amount, but that should allow it to push the hair out further so that none of it's clipping. So if I go to 0, you can see it clips through. If I go to 0.015, it goes out a little more. And there's also this above surface amount. Um, kind of looks like having a 0 value on that will be better, but okay. So that's starting to look right. There's still this it's adding a lot of volume to him though, which I don't want it to do that. So let's make this a really small number just to try to get it outside. But the hairs don't do a lot of good. Like if you look in this view, you can see that they're inside of it. That's not gonna do anything for us. So maybe if we just turn the shrink wrap factor up or down. Above surface, and it almost looks like these nodes think it has it. It looks like upside down to me almost. Yeah, because turning the factor up, you would think would make the hair go out, not in. So it must have the faces flipped almost. That distance. Yeah, so just try some small values for that. The one thing I don't want is I don't want to add this cloudy effect because I used to have that problem a lot with the old hair particles. I don't want this to stick out so far that um, it adds volume to the character. I want him to lay basically flat on the body. Okay, that's looking a little better. And these are just for like body hairs. So if I want to add extra tufts of hair somewhere for um, extra effects, I'll just add a new particle system. So that's how we'll do it. Okay, and then we need to change the density. So basically, I want to add a whole bunch of extra hair particles. I just got to find in here where they've added that. Okay. Interpolate hair curves. Let's try that. Okay, and then we Geometry nodes. Let's see. Density, so oh, we don't want that. Let's just type in interpolate curves. Because I don't think they have one in here. And we probably want it at the end, if I had to guess, because we don't want to have a bunch of curves and then apply all the changes. I would think we want to be between. Okay, it definitely doesn't like that. There is variation. Trim random. We don't really need that. Add. Oh, that might be fine. Interpolate hair curves. Okay, that's probably partly what was going on. I was adding the wrong node. Okay. Make this node bigger so I can see what parameters say on it. Okay. I want this to apply toward the end though, I think. So let's disconnect this. Whoops. Let's move it all the way over here. Yeah, basically though, I just want this thing to add extra hairs between. And it seems to want to just get rid of them all. Geometry to geometry, and then output, so that should be fine. Density mask. Oh, interesting. Yeah, so we can use a image to control how dense the hairs are. Okay. So yeah, in here we should have the ability to automatically interpolate basically. Curve. Kind of surprised that this doesn't have a preset control for how many there are and stuff like that, but hair curves noise. Guess we can also play with just adding extra random hairs too. All right. Noise, texture, distortion. Generate hair curves. Looks exactly like the other node that didn't work. Here you go. Okay. So I am in there. All right. Oh, 4. Let's make these just a little thicker too. Let's go to like that, see what they look like. Definitely too thick. You don't want them to look like worms. Let's go half that. Okay, so that would probably work. And then I do know there are some settings if you want to see the curves. The right way in the shader, you can switch it from rounded ribbons to curves, and they make a little bit of difference, but I think that's probably fine. Okay, yeah, so really all I'm trying to do is add some extra extra particles, if you will. So let's crank this up to like 30. Just start adding more. And I don't know if you have ever used the old particle system. If you tried to paint this many at a time in that, it would be really slow. So actually, let's get out of rendered preview. This is significantly easier to work with. It's a lot faster. and um, hopefully they'll have the simulation stuff for it soon too, because that was broken in the old versions of Blender. But so basically you can add the hair with presets from the get-go, or you can um, kind of like paint it on like this. And the problem with presets like this one that I'm working in, I I like the shape of the hairs, but um, if there's extra settings you have to add, you have to know what nodes to use, and I just don't know those yet. So that's why I'm kind of just dinking around with it. But I would say if you're going to learn geometry nodes, just like shaders, you just have to start using them and try to figure out how they work. Because I don't know that you'll be able to just download them from somewhere and use them properly. So I know that I'm going to start using them to try to fake water simulations and stuff like that for large scale effects, because I've been having a lot of problems trying to get really big water sims to work. So um, that's going to be one of my big things, is trying to figure out how to displace uh, a plane that looks like water and then some particles with it. But let's just get to adding some hair. Once I get the density of this to be pretty nice and give it a real material, I think we'll have a good idea of what this guy will end up looking like. And then the other nice thing about doing hair this way is, and you could in the old way too, but you can disable all the hair for when you're posing the character, and then when it's time to animate or to render, you just turn on the hairs again. Let's see. Let's see what this looks like. Gotta get back into object mode to see the material. Okay, so the hairs are too thick still. So let's turn those down just a little bit. They're probably going to end up having to be what they were before. And it's probably the same now, but back in the um, particle system days, it was always tempting just to add less hairs and make them really thick, but I don't think that's going to work for this. Um, but the density already is starting to look better, so this is where it's not dense enough up here. And then if you look at the body down here, it's looking a little bit better. I think we should shrink wrap those a little bit differently though. Okay, yeah, so we definitely want that factor to be higher so they stick off of the mesh. I don't want to make them look fuzzy to the point where it's adding volume. I want the hairs to stick to the body basically as well as I can. Okay, and then let's see. The above surface parameters. Okay, I think that's going the wrong way actually. Block group. Okay. Target length. That one's not even doing anything. How many of these are clipping? Looks like quite a few of them are actually clipping through the body, but oh, not too many. One way to fix that, instead of just adding extra hair, because that's not really going to work, um, you can just puff the hairs a little bit. So you should be able just to get them to kind of stand up a little, just slightly more if you need to. Hair curve noise, hair curve noise. Okay. But yeah, you can see just um, switching around a bunch of these parameters, you can change how the hair looks without actually sculpting it. Try to add a bunch on his hand here. Okay. Now I want to know why these ones look so long. So there must be something with the mesh that's causing the hairs in this spot to look like um, they just look a lot longer here, so something stretched out a little bit. Okay. Interpolate. Length and shape. So that's fine down here. I don't know if we want to do that down here or not. Okay. That kind of looks like it fixed it a little bit. Just add some more up here. Yes, and hair curves still can take a very long time to do. But I'm hoping that as I learn the node system more and as they add more updates for it, I'm hoping that I'll be able to just kind of apply some presets like um, short hair like this should be pretty easy to apply. Just something that's kind of like got a little swirl to it and form fits to the body is what I'm going for. But a lot of different animal fur works that way, so it'd be nice. It'd be nice to just make a preset for that. And right now I'm just filling in spots that look way too thin. Just giving them some extra particles. See what that looks like now. So there's quite a few of them. Um, but the problem is you can still see the skin through there quite a bit. So one way I've hid um, hair before is by making the skin paint look like it's also hair. The biggest problem with doing that though is that you're gonna get you're gonna get mismatching texture anyway, and it can be hard to get body paint that looks like fur or hair that's actually really good. I think I think these might have just a bit too much of a noise to the shape of them. So I'm gonna try to turn that down. Um, because like looking at some of these, they're just like little balls of hair. I don't really want that. I want them to be smoother than that. Let's see which parameters we can use there. Hair curves, noise. So that's just a modifier, but all right. Should be able to get it to be, maybe it's in frizz. It's probably in the frizz settings. Let's say 0.7 and just see what it does. Streamline. Why can't I change that? Oh, I see. Basically, I just want to make the shape so it's a little bit more smooth. Because this hair ended up looking really jagged. Okay, the shape on that isn't doing much. Point 0.2, 0.1. Okay, so that's getting a little better. Curve radius to, okay, so. And I do have quite a few particles on here already. Um, so it's not super easy to edit these anymore. Okay. That's making them look a little bit more consistent. So I don't mind them clumping. I don't want them to be quite as random. And they were bunching up really bad. So this kind of swirliness is good. I want them to be smooth though. Let's see what that's looking like. And then really, the other thing I've found about hair is that it needs to lay down pretty flat because no matter how many millions and millions of hair particles you add, or curves in this case, I should say, no matter how many you add, you're gonna see the skin through the hair if the hair sticks straight out from the body. So you've kind of got to get it to lay down, otherwise, it's not gonna shade properly anyway. Which, yeah, see, that's adding too much thickness. And then if I decrease the offset distance here too much, all the hairs clip through the body. So I would say it's probably quite a bit worse to have, um, you know, like straggly looking hair like this than it is to um, not have hair or have like a just a kind of painted on texture of it, because now it goes from like, okay, whatever, it looks kind of cool, I guess, from just an image texture, to now it looks like it's mangy or something. If you've got it where it's got like patches clipping through and varied length and stuff. So um, it's really, really, really tricky to deal with hair because it's just hard to get it right. And I'm not sure that the hair curve like system has made it super easy yet to do just full body like covering fur basically. Let's try to turn this down and see what happens. That's kind of in the right direction. I think a lot of these though, they're still sticking up quite a bit. And then if you look on the inside of the mesh, they're clipping through. So a lot of these bare spots are um, where the curves are clipping through it. So we want to try to fix that. Above surface. See, I don't think that's doing anything. Factor, this might need to be more like 0.1. 0.2. Okay. Yeah, I think that's going to be the key there. Offset distance. So we don't want it to be that big because it's way out of his body. So I think what it does is it makes a copy of the body and then it goes out to that far and then it does the swirliness. But this is kind of the like shape we want. We want the hairs to lay flat like that. So I think it's just going to be a matter of tuning it a little bit until we're not adding too much volume to the character, but nothing's clipping through. See, and those just don't do much. Let's see what that looks like with shaders. So it's kind of getting there, but it still has some areas where the hairs are sticking off of the body like this, and they just don't really match. So I'll have to look into that. I would say we still don't have anywhere near enough of them, but let's go just make these thicker, and I'll show you why I don't like it. So at some point, to me, they just look um, too thick, like worms or something. So you can probably vary them so that they come out thick and then they thin out as they go. But this area over here is kind of what you'll want them to start to look like, where they're laid flat. I would say these are still too far out of the body though. Above surface, and see this one just doesn't seem to change anything. Yeah, so the frizz shape isn't changing too much. I might take the clump down just a little. I think part of our um, bumpiness is coming from clumping it too much. So let's check that out. Yeah, so like in these areas here, um, which there's probably just a bunch clipping through it. Oh, not too much. There definitely is on the arm though. In some of these places we'll just need more hair, but yeah, like here, I don't want I don't want these hairs to stick out this far. But I'm finding that the shrink wrap isn't doing its job enough. Like it's not pulling those down in all areas. It is in some areas. Maybe it's just the factor parameter that I need to adjust there. Yeah, that actually looks like it's doing it right. All right. Yeah, and obviously there's like 7 million parameters for all of the different inputs you can use in these node trees. Let's see what that looks like. So I think taking a little clump out and then the factor on the shrink wrap makes a lot of difference. So there's still areas where there's probably more hair needed, and I think these need to be varied thickness. But this right here is the look we're going to want, to where it's just kind of a nice layer of hair. And I would say, um, texturing is definitely easier, but this should look really, really cool once we get it done. So we'll see. Let's go look. What we do need to figure out is how to add more. So we should be able to add extra curves without actually drawing them all. Because this shouldn't really have to be a manual process anymore. just try 100. And let's just see if I come in here. I know this area needed extra particles. Yeah, see, that actually looks like it'll be dense enough, but would you try to render real hair? It's just awful, awful heavy on your computer. Yeah, here we go. Getting some drawn in. Even in um, without rendered views though, you can see that there's way too much skin showing through. So just painting all these areas where it's going to look mangy with extra hairs is going to be important. All right. Yeah, so I'm just going to keep going, keep adding and adding. Um, I have another hardware video that I filmed in the last 2 days ish. I'll post that probably tomorrow. I have to leave here in just a few minutes. Um, so I'll probably end the stream here soon, but I think it's pretty clear that I'm going to have to go relearn geometry nodes for hair particle stuff because I kind of knew how to do it at one point, but um, I think it'd be really nice to use this like zebra preset that I got, but I just don't think it's uh, I don't think it's set up, and I didn't know how to modify the settings well enough. So I'm gonna go do that in the next couple days, and then I'll kind of report back, but be looking for some renders of this character. Because once I get it figured out, I'll share the renders. But um, yeah, I mean, there's I think there's millions of hairs on this already, and it's still like somewhat performing well. And um, back in the old day, once you had this many on there, it would just be killing it. So, and I'm not using the preview setting where I have a reduced number of hairs. So this is definitely running faster than it did. But but yeah, so I'm gonna make some simulation scenes for to share. I'll share them on Patreon for free, and then we can start doing some CPU benchmarking for baking speed and stuff like that. And then everybody will be able to test their own hardware if they want to. Um, so I guess be looking for those benchmark scenes here pretty soon. I'll have a post about it with the link so you can go directly to the post on Patreon. Um, you can be a member on my uh, Patreon account without paying. They changed it up, so you'll be a free member if you want to. And then I guess just watch for more videos and live streams here soon. But this guy's getting really close to done. I have to go for now. So thanks for stopping by. Let's go back to um, check out the rendered view real fast. Just see how he's looking. Not not bad. I think it does need to be more dense, and I need to vary the hair. But um, let's see this look right around here is what we're going for. So we'll just need some more density, and then um, make sure nothing's clipping, which it looks like it's not. But uh, this effect here, where they lay down in the same direction, this right here is what we're going for, and then we'll make the materials a little better and everything else like that. But yeah, for now, I'm gonna have to head out. Thanks to everybody who came by. Uh, Um, hopefully I can get this thing looking really, really cool in the next day or two, and then I'll send it out. But yeah, so thanks for watching. I will see you in a bit.